Don't think you've seen me like this before. It's my Bible. It's the newest one. Well, supposedly. As you know, I started off in Sunday school with one of the small Bibles, and I looked down there in the library, thinking, I'll keep this over in the office and use one of those. I couldn't read it anymore. It was so small. Then I came to one a bit bigger. Then we got the giant print. And alas, marketing forces are keeping up with us. This is a super giant print. So I'm going to refer to that in a minute. But as we know, we are in the Lenten season. And it's not a season that's mentioned in the Bible, but it's taken from it when you think about it, because it's 4 weeks preparing ourselves with, as they say, prayer and fasting, and we say affirmations and denials, and anything else that we need to discard to help us on the way and reprogram ourselves. Of course, the first famous walk I think I learnt of was the 3 wise men. They were on the road for about 40 days, looking for the light, and in the Bible is a verse, wise men always seek the Christ. Then, of course, we have the period we're in now, where Jesus was up in the mountains for 40 days and 40 nights, in the middle of it, so to speak, right now. And that's how some of us feel at the moment. We're in the middle of things at the moment. But this is where we remain firm and know that everything is in divine order. If we're led here, we know this, and we are strong enough to stand in this truth. The power of the month is wisdom, judgment. Now, there's a few things here. Wisdom. The colour is yellow, and the place in the body is the solar plexus. We all know what it's like when that plays up. It's nice having the heart open and love and all that sort of stuff. But when the solar plexus plays up, it can be a bit of a nuisance. It can be turmoil in our society when everyone else seems to pick up on this vibe. But I came across a very interesting verse. I never really understood it till a few years ago. Maybe I've got a bit more to go too. Proverbs 3 verse 8. It shall be health to thy navel and marrow to thy bones. And that's what it says in the old King James Version. Solar plexus, how do we calm it? Some people call it the abdominal brain. Very unglamorous way of putting it, but when you think about it, our whole 7, some call them the chakras, are placed over what they call the endocrine system, very, very powerful receiving centres at different areas of our body. And as I mentioned before about that music that I heard in that car, well, that can be really upsetting to the gentle endocrine system. In a hotel in Melbourne, I drive past it occasionally now on the way back to Ballarat. They used to have rock concerts in the 70s and 80s, and one particular band were there. It's one of the old-fashioned pubs, had the goldfish bowl, little goldfish swimming around, then a TV up on the wall, and of course it was during the week and the manager wanted the people there, so he hired a rock group. He asked them to turn it down, and the famous singer, I won't say who it is now, a good singer too, he said, no, we just want it loud and heavy. Well, this continued, but then at the end of the night, they looked at the goldfish bowl and the fish were dead because of the vibration. And look at us, how delicate we are. We try to think we're not, but we are. And if you're here, you're all probably very empathic, or slightly so, and that can be a problem too, especially if you're young, knowing that what you're feeling isn't necessarily my feeling or your feeling. It's a combined feeling. You pick it up. It's part of our trip, I suppose. But anyway, someone came to me earlier in my teenage years and sort of pointed this out to me, which has been a big help. Check it out before you start getting caught up in other people's moods. And I know too that when you're out having a couple of drinks with friends after work or at the weekend, there could be about 5 or 6 of you in the hotel and you're laughing and carrying on and you'd think the world was a party with 5 or 6 people. And that's where you get caught up in these sort of things. The solar plexus, as I said, the abdominal brain. It's here that the subconscious part of our being is connected to the physical body. It's here in the subconscious part of the mind that it connects, as I said. Its highest phase makes union with the light of spirit functioning in the brain. They connect, and I'll talk about that just before I finish. And in our solar plexus, all that stuff we've ever accumulated is there. Oh my goodness. And we can see it working out in the world today, all that stuff. In school, when I was very young, grade 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5, we had what we call Empire Day, where we celebrated the British Empire. And, it was great, and we learnt a few other things too. We had what they call the White Australia policy. People took that for granted. Times have changed, of course, and we're acceptance of so many things because the world is one, and we can't just sit on our laurels all the time and just have a little bit of peace, but sometimes we're here to be shaken up and get this wisdom, which is the power of the month, in action. The wisdom we need is inside us. And it's so strange, as I mentioned before, the wise man sitting on the mountain says, you don't have to go anywhere, it's all inside you. Yeah, but that's all right for him. We've got to get to that point first, where we realise it is all inside us and we can be it in action. How do we tell the subconscious what to do, instead of it telling us what to do? Well, we talk about prayer, meditation and affirmations, and not necessarily easy, but there are many other ways. There are probably positive affirmations, but with feeling. The feeling is the thing. There's a visualization, hypnosis, subliminal audio and video, which is really taken off, meditation, controlling our will and habits, and auto-suggestion, all probably part of the same thing. How long does this take? Could take a month, may take many months, may even take a couple of lifetimes. But we're in a process now, this Lenten season, there's 40 days. And we've talked before about the power of that number. It's a number of completion. And this is 40 days in the wilderness. Jesus was 40 days on the mountain, and Elijah was 40 days where he was at Mount Horeb, I think it was called, H-O-R-E-B. It's interesting, though, that the human nervous system is, I don't believe I'm saying this, neuroplastic. I wasn't good at science, but I'm starting to understand it now because of my spiritual perspective on it, meaning it can change for the worse and the better. The word neuro is relating to the nerves or the nervous system. And one encouraging thing is that brains that have been harmed by substance abuse can learn to unlearn all that. Now, Lent has been part of mainstream religions for centuries. They have what they call a little book, lectern, what's it called? You should know that, Roberta. Lexicon. And it's got the days and years of the Christian world worked out. Lent is at this time, Christmas is there, and this is here. So we've had Palm Sunday, which was probably the beginning of it, and in a couple of weeks we'll have the Holy Week. We can now take this time in Lent. We can now take it to unravel our souls and make a start of getting back on the track of who we really are. And of course we've got the fruits of the Spirit. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Not easy. Now, I've got a book, my Bible here, Ecclesiastes 3:15. That which has been is now, and that which to be hath already been. Our soul urge keeps wanting us to go higher, to expand, to express more and more spirit right here where we are now. Now, Ecclesiastes chapter 3 is something that I was told by a lodge member they had to know quite well. And it's a little bit says here, to everything there is a season, a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to pluck up that which is planted. A time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to get and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to cast away. A time to rend and a time to sow. A time to keep silent and a time to speak. A time to love and a time of war and a time of peace. And there's so much wisdom in that, it's amazing. Now, getting back to the solar plexus, metaphysically, the solar plexus is the sun centre in us and the centre of the subconscious, and metaphysically we have the character of Pharaoh. Pharaoh is the ruler of the subconscious domain, and everything that's under his control is he doesn't want to let go. I'm using it personification-wise here. So, most of our stuff is already in there. What can we do about it? Then we get the other character, which is Moses, from the Hebrew drawing out. Extracted, water saved, and we know Moses was rescued in the water in the bulrushes by Pharaoh's daughter. So in the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, which is down there, Moses and Pharaoh represent two forces at work in our human evolution. Moses represents that evolutionary force of new ideas that have grown in the subconscious mind and are tugging at the old states of litigation and material ignorance and trying to rise to a higher expression. But Pharaoh doesn't want that to happen because he's content. He's all right, leave me alone. So we're all given an opportunity to how to do this. Not easy. And as I mentioned before, meditation is one of the ways that, kicking and screaming, we eventually have to do it. However long it takes, we are here for a reason. Some people don't talk about this very much, the word reincarnation. Charles Fillmore has written from time to time about this process. And he's written about a lot of things. But he also said he reserves the right to change his mind. And how often have we done that? When we were here, we thought this was it. We were here. What I felt at 30, I didn't feel at 40. At 50, I started to think. 60 was fine, thinking all going well. 70, 79, it's another world. My goodness. And I was speaking with Reverend Rhonda Murray only yesterday, and she's my age too. And she was walking, she said, "Oh, I'm sorry." Oh, she said, "I'm exhausted, I've been to the gym." I said, "What?" And so I said to her, "Look, I really should be doing that too." And she said, "Well, if we're the same age," she said, "you're going to have to. It's called functional fitness." I said, "We'll copyright that and write a book." Because you have to take time at a certain age to look after this body temple, because that's what it is. It has its own nooks and crannies and odds and ends and things that go up and things that go down, and it can be a blessing and it can be a challenge. And having been super fit all my life and actually being a top athlete, I know what super fitness is. Beverly, you were telling me a story about your grandson. Would you tell us? Come up and tell us in a few short words about...
You do surprise me, Bill. Just thinking where to start, actually. He's 25, my oldest grandson, and he's always been an athlete, run from the time I can remember, although he didn't grow up in Melbourne. They were in Canberra, and he broke a couple of bones, and we used to think, oh my goodness, he can't possibly keep up this running and fitness. However, he did. And he has never had a drink. That's another thing. He always said to himself, "I've seen what alcohol does to people. I'm not having a drink." And then the next thing I heard 2 years ago, he was going to be in the Ironman. Does everyone know what the Ironman is, competition? Well, it's a process of 3 disciplines. It starts off with swimming, which is 3.8 kilometres in the ocean or a lake. 100, I hope I get this right, 180 kilometres on a bike, and then about 41, I think it is, kilometres, anybody correct me, I can't ever remember this, 41 kilometres running. They're all on end. You don't stop for anything. You eat on the run, drink on the run, whatever. Anyway, he has just done his second one in Taupo, which is about 3 hours from Auckland in New Zealand, and he told me how to download the app so that I could follow the whole process, and he wanted to do it in under, under 10 hours. Yes, did I? And he actually managed it just over the 10, and the reason for that is that he wanted to qualify for the World Ironman Championships in Hawaii next year. So he's a real specimen, as you can imagine. You know, everything's muscular and beautiful. Anyway, I think the leader, and this is what is so extraordinary, the leader did it in something like 8.5 hours. And it took him 10, and he did well. So if anybody can imagine doing it, I can't. So Jasper Sheehan, well done.
Those were the days. My goodness, Jasper, yes. That is amazing. All right, well, getting back to what we were saying, we're at different levels, all of us, and this is why the world has its blessings and challenges, its ups and downs, because what was good for us then, and people took for granted then, is necessarily so. There's another song. Okay, I think that's just about wound that up. But I'd like to leave you with this special song, which really puts it all together.